So it's been quite some time since I've last done a video on sort of the state of crossout, and while it's not like I feel like my point is any more relevant than only the other people who does it, which is as of right now not really a lot of people because there are not a lot of people creating content for this game, and we're also going to get into why that is. But I mean, for this video we're just going to play a couple of games and we're going to talk a little bit about the game and the future of crossout, because there will be a new interesting battle pass coming with a lot of new interesting items, and that is very positive, but it's also quite negative in my opinion. But let's get into some games and let's talk a little bit about that. So let me just sort of elaborate. First of all, is the game gonna die? No, I still don't think it's gonna die anytime soon, because crossout just has this basic style that appeals to a lot of people, and I don't see how that is gonna change anytime soon, because it's a funny game. You know, the essence of the game is great. You have great possibilities for building your own vehicles. It's combat vehicles, and combat games are fun for a lot of people, and shooting and destroying and being creative is a very big part of this game, and that's fun for a lot of people. And on top of that, you have a game that has probably some of the most expensive packs that I have at least seen for a game pretty much ever. So it's also probably not going to be a game that will suck the devs dry of any sort of profit, but it's more so just a game that I think with the time is just going to appeal less and less to the more veteran players of this game, and that is a big issue. Also, this is a big issue, but I think we can get out of that at least. Yep, we can. Ow. Not this though. And you see that this is pretty much everything that people run. It's close range builds, it's nothing else but that. There's just no aim challenge, which at least for most of the veteran players that I play with, they want a proper challenge where it's not just running straight in. Either you die or the enemy dies, and then the game is over in 30 seconds. And sadly, that is just kind of what this game has developed to become. And I don't think that's very healthy. So the reason that I don't think builds like this and all sorts of other builds like fire melees and all that stuff are just not very healthy, this also comes down to drones and turret builds and all that stuff, it's simply just for the fact that it removes a lot of the challenges that I know so many people, again, like I said, that I've at least talked to, value in crossout. That you still have the chance to outmaneuver someone, that you still have the chance to escape a hairy situation because you know how to move around. But there's just so many builds in this game that completely negates this feature. And I know that this is just something that a lot of people don't like. At least, you know, when you see how much people can argue over things like this, it's really something that a lot of people are passionate about, and that's just not very healthy. Oh, hello there to this guy, because you see, like, how are you gonna do anything about that? Like, how are you going to do anything about that? And then I know people are going to be like, well, just watch your map. But again, then you just have the Griffin, which negates that. And this has been like that for quite some time. But the reason that I want to bring this up again is simply because with the addition of... Now I just got to focus here as well. Oh, just broke a Skinner. That's kind of cheesy. Not too happy about that. But the reason that I want to bring this up again is because with the new patch, I think he's stuck over there. That's kind of hilarious. Oh, here we got another dude. So let's just run away from that. Our entire team is dead, by the way, so this is not going to be too good. But the reason that I want to bring that up again is because we're getting a rather big change to the way that vehicles function soon. And that is going to be the torque change as well as the engine changes. And a side of me is very positive about the engine changes, and the reason that I'm very positive about the engine changes is because the engine changes... Why did my buddy just shoot me? That makes absolutely no sense at all whatsoever. On the other side, the reason that I don't really like the engine changes is because it's again gonna be having a very high impact on specific builds and a very low impact on other builds. And the reason that the engine changes and the torque changes are going to change quite a bit is, first of all, the torque changes have seemed quite promising to spiders and big ram spiders. And the main reason being that they won't be as easy to push around anymore as they've been so far. Because if you ram them with a wheel build, be it a wedge or a melee or whatever, a spider can pretty much be pushed around because they don't have friction as such on the ground. So when you're in leg mode, well, the legs don't really catch on to the ground. You sort of just get pushed around until you are done, and that is not very funny for anyone. And also this is not very fun, but hey, it's the way it is. You see, not fun. And that's very good. So next thing though is that the engine change is also gonna impact, in my opinion, quite wrong. Or maybe not, because I can't really honestly decide on this. So the engine changes means that, for example, the Colossus will no longer be providing its 20% reload increase. And the reason that I don't really like that, well, that's because, there we go, just got a deke on him. That is because with that, any cannon-based build or the like is, or any reloading based build is now going to be forced to equip another module, meaning that you will have to be saving energy for that module. Now, at the moment with MGs, that's also pretty fair, because something like the MG has to use energy on radiators and coolers. Now, basic weapons that require that also tend to have a lower energy expenditure. So, for example, Arbiters only cost 3 per item, because they also need that energy for their weapons. And now this means effectively that any reload based build is gonna indirectly suffer or directly suffer from this change. And this is completely disregarding any sort of thought about movement parts. So why is this guy following us around? What people don't do to get their name in a video. Like I said, this is gonna be a punishment for anyone running reload based builds, and that is in so many ways just not very healthy for the game, in my opinion, at least. Because for, let's take the builds that I run the most, which is a cannon or a scorpion hover. That thing benefits a lot from, whoops, there we are, that guy's dead. That thing benefits a lot from having a verifier and a cloak, and that thing will now have to either get rid of the verifier or the cloak in case, you know, you want to still be able to do something and have a good reload and not punish yourself, because 20% reload speed is just way too much DPS to let go of. You're gonna have to run reload modules together with your reload based weapons. There's not really any way around it, in my opinion. So when you're forced to use that, it puts you in a bit of a disadvantage, because you have to spend energy on a module. And you know, you could say, well, if you don't have energy enough, take any heavy cabin at all. Any heavy cabin at all will not have energy enough to carry both a reload module as well as a cloak and a verifier. And with that, then you're gonna be in a position where you're gonna have to give up one or the other. And the cloak is gonna render you with a very, very big disadvantage compared to your enemies, while the verifier is gonna leave you very, very vulnerable to any cloaking builds, mainly melees. And neither of that is very good, in my opinion. So then the argument could be, well, then don't play heavy cabins on hovers, because that's not the way it's supposed to be anyways. But then that just brings us back to the talk update, because the talk update, as far as we've seen on the test server, has rendered light cabins completely useless on hovers, as long as you take hovers into higher PS combat. And that's not very good either, because that's just gonna leave a lot of people with a big disadvantage that no one will really like. All right, let's just finish up the closing points here, because I'm struggling so much to even remember what I'm talking about when we play these games in between. So we're just gonna drive around in the garage a little bit for the rest of the talk. But I kind of forgot what I said at the beginning of, or the end of the last game. But my point is just that, again, you know, no one wants heavy hovers to be a thing, because that was not the intention when hovers came out, at least by the looks of it. And what I hear most people say is that they want hovers to be these like fragile builds that die easily, but also are decently fast. And with the changes to talk, that's just not gonna happen, because light cabins are incredibly slow from what we've seen on the test servers. It was an absolute pain. Like, it was just not good in any way. It was not useful, and you just couldn't move, at least when you came to higher PS. At low PS, they were super fast, but there was some imbalancing going there, because heavy or light cabins just don't have the necessary power to power all of the hovers that you need for those builds, which is just not very cool. And then the argument could be, well, then just use heavy cabins, but heavy cabins only have 15 energy, so you're going to be forced to either not have that cloak or that verifier, and those are the main counters to rush builds that just rush straight in and one-shot you. And that's kind of the only way you can counter them. You can counter them with a cap can as well, but then you can have neither, and you know, you can have a reload module and nothing else, and your cap cannon, then you can just have fun with that. So, I mean, there seems to be some imbalance in the stuff that's coming out right now, because the engine changes are not gonna really affect anything. It's not gonna affect melees at all. It's only gonna make them have a new buff, because I know a lot of people run Colossus on something like hybrid or fire melees, because that way they can get a more a total mass for the wheels, and that's just gonna give them 20% more durability on their wheels now. It's not gonna you know, penalize them for having to, for example, hybrids, for having to run a reload module, so they can't have as much stuff on there. It's only going to give them a positive benefit. Meanwhile, every other build out there is suffering, and then you're going to be like, well, MG builds are not going to suffer from the engine change either. No, but we've already, you know, covered that. The energy expenditure for a machine gun or anything of the like, a shotgun for example, also accounts for the fact that you need to run radiators on them. So I honestly don't know if I want to sit here and say that then, well, cannon's got to be 5 energy, because I don't think that would be very beneficial either. But I just really don't think the game is going in the right direction, and honestly, competitive gameplay has just become so boring. The picking thing was a great change to Clan Wars, but it also just, you know, it's like people lose around, then they switch to full melee and get counter-picked, boy. But not really, right? Not really. It's more just, this kind of sucks. And it's just hellish for, at least I know there's very, very split thoughts on this, and some people are going to be like, you're so wrong, because melees are just the best and hovers are OP, so just nerf hovers and it's all going to be fine. And yeah, hovers are super strong right now, and I'm loving it if spiders are going to be the new thing. But I honestly just think if spiders are going to be the new thing, it's going to be a meta of who can rush to the enemy cap first and cap 3 points, because then it's going to be spiders with barriers and aegis, and whatever spider team gets to the cap first will just barricade themselves behind barriers and shields, and they're just going to be chilling there. And what can you do then? Then you can push into them, and it's just going to be a brawl of who can survive the longer, without really knowing what the hell is going on. So with the changes coming, I really don't think that once again the meta is going to be any better than it is right now. I still don't think this will have more of a feeling of being competitive, because every other game is just going to be a game of, you know, complete randomness, like who gets the better engage, who gets the cap first, or who can just one-shot the enemy team before the enemy team can do anything about it. It's been an issue for so long, it's more than likely not gonna be changed anytime soon, because you have these people who are almost religious when it comes to their build types, and they're gonna give the devs a very hard time if their build is not changed. So I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. I think this is my final breath of crossout, and I'm slowly just looking at, you know, moving along, because the game is just not what it used to be, and I don't really enjoy the game at all anymore, to be honest. So I think it's just a matter of moving on, and then we can find some new games that are fun to play, because at the rate that the game is dying at the moment is quite concerning. So I'm hoping to see a very drastic change to the meta, and just a game that becomes more rewarding for skill, and less of an RNG game where you just drive in and one-shot people. So let's pray for that, dudes. Let me know what you think about the game down below. And yeah, have a good one. Until next time. Bye-bye.